A very good evening and welcome to Primetime News on TV1 for the Newsfirst, where the people come first. I'm Martin Satyanesan.
And I'm Thiruni Karunaratna.
President Andhra Kumar Dissanayake today presented his second national budget to Parliament. The budget speech commenced at 1:30 p.m. today.
Before diving into the detailed proposals, here are the headlines for tonight. No issues with debt repayment. President clarifies during budget speech. Budget allocates funds for infrastructure, digital economy, SMEs and tourism development. State employees' salary hike continues in January. Allowances for rural teachers and principals increased. Mahapola and student grants up by 2,500 rupees. VAT rate to rise from April. New taxes on imported coconut oil and palm oil. Pradeep Nilangadala reappointed as Diyawadana Nilame.
President Andhra Kumar Dissanayake assured Parliament that the government has a clear and structured plan for debt repayment and emphasized that there will be no obstacles in meeting these obligations. He outlined the repayment strategy during his budget speech 2026 presentation.
මේ වන විට අප ණය තිරසරභාවය තහවුරු කිරීම සඳහා පැහැදිලි සැලැස්මක් විශේෂයෙන්ම රාජ්‍ය ණය කළමනාකරණ කාර්යාල හරහා සකස් කරමින් පවතිනවා.
Maintaining the gross financial requirement at a level below 13% of GDP in the medium term and annual central government foreign currency debt servicing at a level not exceeding 4.5% of GDP is a strategy to ensure debt sustainability. Accordingly, as the public financial situation has strengthened, public debt as a percentage of GDP has begun to decline gradually. The public debt target as a percentage of GDP of 95% by 2032 is gradually reaching. Given the remarkable performance achieved in the public finances and our debt management strategy, we believe that there is a high level of potential to maintain public debt as a percentage of GDP below 90% by 2032. Certain groups are spreading an unfounded opinion that an inability to pay foreign debt may arise in 2028. Let me clarify this. There have always been predictions that this government will collapse, that it will fall apart. They said a new president would emerge in August, another in December, and yet another by March. They even claimed the government would crumble by 2028. Yes, in 2028, after debt restructuring, debt payments will begin. Does that mean we won't be able to pay? Absolutely not. I will show you the data to prove it. But what is the real situation? We made the payment of $1,674 million for foreign debt servicing in 2024. Foreign debt service in 2025 amounted to $2,435 million, of which $1,948 million had been paid by the 30th September. Another $487 million is set to be paid by the 31st December of this year. Accordingly, foreign debt service payments in 2025 are an increase of $761 million compared to 2024. The foreign debt service payment in 2028 is only $3,259 million. That is an increase of only $824 million compared to 2025. We still have 2 more years, 2025, 2026 and 2027. But compared to last year, we have already paid $761 million this year. For 2028, the additional amount we need to pay is only $824 million more than this year. We have the capacity to pay this. Therefore, we believe that the people of this country will not accept such false propaganda. Compared to 2024, our foreign earnings have increased significantly. By September last year, we earned $19,338 million. This year, that figure stands at $21,272 million, an increase of $1,934 million. That is why we have been able to make debt repayments of $761 million. Not only that, we reopened the vehicle market after 5 to 6 years of closure. When we did, there was a surge in demand. By the 30th October, letters of credit worth $1,933 million were opened for vehicle imports, and vehicles worth $1,373 million have already been brought in. This is an expense we did not have last year. I do not expect similar levels of spending on vehicles next year or in 2027. So far, we have managed to pay $761 million in debt and $1,373 million for vehicles. In 2028, the additional amount we need to pay is only $824 million more than this year. Can we pay it? Yes, we can. Remember this, in 2028, we will meet our obligations. A portion of international sovereign bonds obtained by the government has been as governance-linked bonds. They should be repaid in 2034 and 2035. The creditors have agreed to provide relief in the debt restructuring process depending on the progress that Sri Lanka achieves on two indicators during the debt restructuring process. When we initiate a sound economic process, they reward us with favorable ratings. That is the connection with governance-linked bonds. Accordingly, the government's revenue targets for 2026 to 2027 should be maintained above 15.3% and 15.4% of GDP, respectively, and the fiscal strategy should be announced within the stipulated time frame. If these targets are met, the creditors have agreed to provide a 0.75% reduction in the annual interest rate payable from 2028 to 2035. Accordingly, the government will receive a debt servicing benefit of $7.6 million per year. The government is working to achieve these economic targets. The government is committed to meeting its economic targets. We will not abandon a single objective. Revenue goals will be achieved, and we will present this in our fiscal statement. Already, I can confidently say that by the end of 2025, we will reach close to 16% in revenue. This means that in 2026, we can surpass 15.3% and by 2027, exceed 15.4%. These improvements will allow us to secure the relief offered by our creditors, and we are working to ensure that happens.
2027 15.4 ඉක්මවන්න පුළුවන්. ඒ කියන්නේ අපිට අර ණය හිමියන් විසින් ලබා දී තියෙන සහනය ලබා ගන්න පුළුවන්. ඒක අපි ලබා ගන්න කටයුතු කරමු.
President Anurukumara Dissanayake announced that Sri Lanka aims to achieve an economic growth rate of over 7% in the coming years.
ජනවරම ලැබූ මොහොතේ සිටම සාර්ව ආර්ථිකය ස්ථාවර කිරීමටත්
From the moment we received our mandate, we initiated very broad reformative changes to stabilize the macroeconomy, ensure fiscal discipline, strengthen state institutions, prevent corruption and increase transparency, and ensure accountability to the people. I am pleased to announce to this House today that these reforms have restored fiscal, macroeconomic and social stability within a short period of 1 year. There should be no fear over economic instability. The economy grew by 4.8% in the first half of 2025, driven by strong growth across all sectors, surpassing the forecast of multilateral organizations. We will try to keep inflation below 5%. Inflation has now returned to a positive value. I remember many predicted that our economy would collapse if a conflict erupted between India and Pakistan. Then they expected a breakdown during tensions between Iran and Israel. Later, they claimed US tax policies would bring our economy to its knees. But despite all these global shocks, our exchange rate has remained stable. The gross official reserves have exceeded $6 billion. It is expected that this year, after almost 2 decades since 2006, the government revenue will be able to reach the level of 16% of GDP. It is also expected that the highest primary surplus as a percentage of GDP in its history will be recorded in this year. The continuous increase in this primary surplus will contribute to a significant reduction in the central government debt as a percentage of GDP from 104.2% in 2022 to 96.8% by 2026. Furthermore, we expect to achieve that figure at a level of about 87% by 2030. These results have paved the way for our desired exit from the debt crisis. Accordingly, many people have predicted that the economic situation of 2019 would be regained in 2029. However, we believe that by the end of 2025, we will be able to regain the economic situation that existed before the crisis.
අප අර්බුදයට පෙර පැවති ආර්ථික තත්ත්වය ළඟා කර ගැනීමට හැකියාව ලැබෙන බව මම මේ සභාවට සතුටින් ප්‍රකාශ කරන්න කැමැතියි.
President Anurukumara Dissanayake stressed that the law will be enforced without exception, regardless of rank or influence, against anyone who has committed crimes against the people.
රුසියාවයි ඇමරිකාවයි එකතු වෙන්න ඕන හිට්ලර් පරද්දන්න.
Proceeds of Crime Act was passed and a separate police unit headed by a DIG has been established. Now some say that Hitler is back. They say Russia and America must unite to defeat Hitler. Did you see that? Are you Russia? Are you Russia? What is this? Russia and America uniting to defeat Hitler is ancient history. It was at a time when world politics was at a crucial stage, and it was in fact a turning point in world history. At a recent media briefing, they likened themselves to Russia and America uniting to defeat Hitler. I feel sorry for you. You must understand world history in its actual context. What is this politics? Hitler? Bear in mind, we will enforce the law irrespective of what interpretations are given by the opposition. If a person has done a wrong to the people, no matter who that person is, what responsibility that person has, or what position that person holds, we will punish them. If they have committed fraud, corruption and crimes, you can interpret it in whatever way you want. We will not back down.
සහතික වශයෙන් දඬුවම් දෙනවා. ඒකට ඕන අර්ථවත අනවර්ථ නාමයක් දෙන්න. ඒකත් අරින්නේ හොඳයි. මතක තබා ගන්න.
Today's budget places special emphasis on revitalizing key sectors of the Sri Lankan economy. Priority areas include strengthening the rural economy, reviving small and medium enterprises, boosting tourism, advancing the digital economy and attracting new investments. So what relief measures are included in this year's budget? Let's take a look. Relief measures for the public sector. State sector salaries will see the second phase of the increment starting January with an allocation of 110 billion rupees. Pensions of those who retired before 2020 will be revised based on the 2019 salary structure, effective July 2026, with 20 billion rupees allocated. Interest-free festival advance for state employees raised from 10,000 rupees to 15,000 rupees. Under a new scheme, state employees can access housing or property loans up to 5 million rupees at concessionary interest rates, with 500 million rupees allocated. First 3 million rupees, 4% interest concession. 3 to 5 million rupees, 2% interest concession. Expanding the coverage of health benefits under the Agrahara scheme. Budget proposes to increase the contribution amount of 125 rupees by another 75 rupees and the monthly contributions of 300 rupees and 600 rupees by another 150 rupees. Allowance for teachers and principals in difficult areas increased by 1,500 rupees.
මේ ඔක්කොම බදවගන්න සේවා ව්‍යවස්ථාවට අනුව විභාග ගන්නවා.
All these recruitments will be done in line with the constitution through exams. Back then, fresh graduates were employed in large batches. However, we will not be doing that. I saw a recent protest staged by graduates requesting jobs. We are recruiting 75,000. Write the examination. Look at the problem concerning development officers. Some are protesting, asking for teaching positions. Some are in provincial secretariats. Some are in villages. Around 50,000 or 60,000 people. There are over 90,000 employees in the administrative service in Sri Lanka. The entire state service has crashed. There is no point of them holding a degree. Their youth is being wasted. Therefore, hereafter we will be employing people for the 75,000 vacancies in the state service based on the results of the examination we conduct. To everyone waiting to be employed, I must say, go study and prepare yourself for the exam. Be patient about allowances and salary disparities. We have to manage all of this within our expenditure limits. With regard to allowances and salary disparities, let's talk. But we will need some time to implement it all. I request all state sector employees to adapt to this system. Do not protest on the streets. Go back home.
හැම රාජ්‍ය සේවකම මමින්ලා හිටින්නේ ඒකට අනුගත වෙන්න. ඒ නිසා ඒගොල්ලන්ට කියන්නේ පාරේ ඉන්න පගෙදර යන්න.
A salary and pension commission will be established to resolve issues related to state sector salaries and pensions. Employees recruited on or after the 1st of January 2016 will retain entitlement under the existing pension scheme. Proposed to allocate 100 million rupees to implement a pilot project in the local authorities of Kasbaba and Piliandala areas with the aim of encouraging the provision of services for the burial of pets, cremation and care of stray animals. It is expected to develop the Beira Lake and make it an attractive place in the heart of Colombo and to increase the productive use of all aspects of social, economic and environmental, including tourism activities. For this purpose, it is proposed to utilize 2,500 million rupees from the underutilized Tourism Development Fund allocated to the Sri Lanka Tourism Promotion Bureau.
This year's budget includes a wide range of development and public welfare proposals. Here's a look at what they entail.
Rural road development, 24,000 million rupees. Rural bridge development, 2,500 million rupees. 600 new long-distance buses for SLTB, 3,600 million rupees. 5 new diesel power sets for railways, 3,300 million rupees. Road development allocation for 2026, 342,000 million rupees. Kadawatha Mirikama Expressway development, 66,150 million rupees. Land acquisition for Kurunagala Dambulla Expressway, 1,000 million rupees. Land acquisition for Ruanpura Expressway from Kahathudwa to Ingiriya, 1,500 million rupees. President Anurukumara Disanayake highlighted a major shift in renewable energy procurement.
In the previous parliament, 2 tenders for 500 megawatts wind power projects were awarded without a proper procurement process at a rate of US cents 8.26 per kilowatt hours, without even considering the cost of connecting to the grid. Some claimed that rejecting these deals would create diplomatic issues, and there were even urgent media briefings about a supposed $450 million investment. But what was that investment? It was simply power at 8.26 cents per unit without a substation. We did not agree. We had no issue with the company or the country involved, but we told them clearly, we are ready to work with you if the rate comes below 5 cents per unit. They refused. So we opened the area for competitive bidding. What was the result? On the 28th October 2025, 2 tenders for Mullikulam wind projects were opened, and I am proud to report the outcome to this house. Phase 1 US cents 3.96 per kilowatt hours. Phase 2 US cents 3.77 per kilowatt hours. Compare that to the earlier 8.26 cents. They wanted us to sign at 25 rupees per unit. Today it is 11 rupees. Additionally, the Mana Phase 1 expansion was awarded at an attractive rate of US cents 4.65 per kilowatt hours. We believe prices can go even lower. This is the result of a transparent, competitive tender process.
Storage facilities for onions, potatoes and maize, 1,000 million rupees. Coconut cultivation in Northern Triangle, 600 million rupees. Modernization of selected fisheries harbours, Beruala, Ambalangoda, Kudavalla and Nilvalla, 300 million rupees. Modern technology for fisher safety, 350 million rupees. Life-saving equipment for fishermen, 100 million rupees. Marine resource data and fishing communities, 100 million rupees. Marine biotechnology and ocean resource development, 100 million rupees. Irrigation development, 91,700 million rupees. Lower Malwatu Oya multipurpose project, 5,000 million rupees. Renovation of 650 tanks and 350 kilometers of canals. Concessionary loans for SMEs up to 50 million rupees under low interest schemes. New fund for farmers. 3,500 million rupees allocated for nature-based tourism programs. Underutilized tourist bungalows. 900 bungalows to be repurposed for income generation with private sector collaboration.
We expect to complete the development of Hingurakuda Airport within 2026. Plans are underway to upgrade domestic airports in Sigiriya and Trincomalee and expand operations at Jaffna International Airport with 1,000 million rupees allocated for these projects, supplemented by contributions from the Civil Aviation Authority. In addition, the expansion project at Bandaranaike International Airport, which was previously halted, will resume in the first quarter of next year. We are also working to successfully conclude the debt restructuring process of Sri Lankan Airlines. However, the question remains, should the public bear such a heavy financial burden for a national airline? If someone suggests selling it, let me be clear, no one came forward to buy it. Who will take it? Selling is not the solution. Improving and restructuring is the priority. Our board of directors is ready. They have been given the time to implement their plans. If those plans fail to deliver fair results, we will not hesitate to consider alternative options for the airline.
25,500 million rupees allocated for public sector digitalization. New digital ID to be introduced from March next year.
Data security is critically important. There were serious concerns about whether our data could be lost or accessed by external parties. Experts have developed a strategy for this. First, software development and integration into a unified system will involve an external party only during the initial phase. After that, full control will be handed over to us. All data entry and management will be handled by a Sri Lankan company, ensuring that no foreign entity has access to our data. If anyone thinks external forces can interfere, let me be clear, there is absolutely no room for that. Some even went to court seeking injunctions. I thank the Supreme Court for rejecting those cases without even taking them up for hearing. This project must move forward.
Decision to waive service charges for digital payments made to state institutions. Broadband vouchers for farmers and children from low-income families. 2 billion rupees allocated for drug menace control.
The drug menace is an extremely severe epidemic facing our country, far more alarming than we imagine. This narcotics crisis has infiltrated even the school bags of innocent children and is knocking on the doors of almost every household. It is pushing the younger generation into a grave tragedy, while the entire nation directly and indirectly has become a victim of this disaster. To address this situation, we propose allocating 2 billion rupees to meet urgent needs such as strengthening prison operations, ensuring compliance with all ethical procedures in society, directing inmates to community programs and maintaining open prison camps.
Government allowance of up to 15,000 rupees per month for 24 months when employing persons with disabilities in the private sector. Monthly 5,000 rupees for low-income children with disabilities based on medical recommendations. Increase of 2,500 rupees in Mahapula and student allowances for university students. Increase of 2,500 rupees in monthly allowance for students of educational colleges. 8 billion rupees allocated to strengthen vocational education. Establishment of health centers across the country to cover between 5,000 and 10,000 individuals. 12 billion rupees for a national cardiac unit comprising 16 floors. 10,000 rupees for low-income thalassemia patients based on medical recommendations. This year's budget introduced several tax proposals aimed at increasing government revenue. Starting from April next year, a new special commodity levy of 150 rupees per kilogram will be imposed on imported coconut oil and 275 rupees per kilogram on palm oil. The VAT registration threshold will also be reduced from 60 million rupees to 36 million rupees in annual turnover, expanding the number of businesses required to pay the value-added tax. This proposal too will come into effect from April next year.
Certain shops charge VAT, certain others do not. However, based on the prices, can you tell if the VAT applies for a particular commodity or not, and therefore the prices are lower or higher? Is there any such difference to you? No, the prices marked by businesses not charging VAT are the same as those of businesses that do not. There needs to be some fairness here. A commodity with no VAT needs to be cheaper. However, that is not happening. If a kilogram of rice is 200 rupees, the price needs to increase by 36 rupees. We can remove them all, but the network is too large for us to handle. The first part of the job is to handle all those within the 60 million rupee threshold. Some split the entity into two, each worth 30 million rupees to avoid the tax.
Additionally, the current 10% and 20% income tax brackets will be revised to 10%, 20% and 30%, with the new rates coming into effect in April next year. Some taxes charged at the point of import will be removed, while the Social Security contribution levy imposed on vehicles will undergo procedural changes, shifting the point of taxation from sales to the stage of import clearance or local production. Meanwhile, the cess tax of 100 rupees per kilogram on imported fabric will be removed from April next year. Furthermore, the budget includes several other proposals aimed at strengthening state tax administration, including the modernization of the tax framework and the enhancement of auditing processes to align with current economic needs. At the conclusion of the budget speech, the President also expressed his views regarding the provincial council elections.
According
to the Global Democracy Index, our country has advanced 10 places. Yet at the same time, I hear claims that we are turning into a constitutional dictatorship. How can that be? We have moved up 10 spots in the global democratic rankings. So where is the dictatorship? Is enforcing the law considered authoritarianism now? What exactly is the issue with the provincial council elections? There's already an election system in place, but the delimitation process was never finalized. materialized. It was your government that had the responsibility to approve it. The report was submitted by then Minister of Provincial Councils, Faizan Mustafa. He's here, isn't he? For the first time in Sri Lanka, the very minister who submitted the delimitation report voted against his own report. Check the Hansard. I didn't oppose it. I remained silent. I remember clearly the report presented by the minister was defeated by his own government. And now you are the ones asking for elections. As of now, I have referred the matter to the Attorney General. We will see what legal provisions exist to proceed from here. Funds have already been allocated for the election through the budget. But it's not up to me to decide the election date. That's for Parliament to determine. If you make the law, the election will happen. Previously, we had neither funds nor elections. You remember that, right? Now we have funds but no law. If the President attempts to make laws, you'll call it authoritarianism. So the President will not make the laws. But didn't it cross your mind while watching the budget that elections are near? Your government was formed on the 8th January. By the 28th February, the central bank was robbed. Not even in 1 year, just 50 days. Now you are discussing forming alliances. I know the leader of the opposition will not join hands with the corrupt. He won't even look in their direction, and for that I thank him.
විපක්ෂ නායකතුමා මම දන්න එකට කෙලින් ඉන්න බව. දූෂිතයන් එක්ක එකතුමා එකතු වෙන්නේ නැහැ. එතුමා දූෂිතයන් දිහා බලන්නෙත් නැහැ. හරිද? මම ස්තුතිවන්ත වෙනවා එතුමාට. ස්තුතිවන්ත වෙ යුතුයි. හරි. දයාසිරි මන්ත්‍රීතුමා ඉතින් ඕන පැත්තකට නේ. ඕන පැත්තක්. හරිද?
He deserves appreciation. As for MP Dayasiri, well, he can go whichever way the wind blows, can't he? Like a kite, wherever the wind takes it. Think about that carefully. We said don't steal, don't engage in corruption, but then some go out and do exactly that. And when they are summoned before the bribery commission, they act as though the country is collapsing. Then they rush to court, asking not to be arrested.
හැබැයි ගිල හොරකම් කරනවා. ඊට පස්සේ අල්ලස් කොමිසමට එන්න කියනවා රට පනිනවා. මරු වැඩක් නෑ. ඉතින් යන්නකෝ ඒ වගේම අල්ලස් කොමිසමට. ඊට අත්තඩ කොට යන්න එපා. ඊළඟ අත්තඩ කොට ගන්න එපා කියලා අධිකරණයට යනවා.
Following the budget presentation, the traditional tea party was held this afternoon at the members' dining hall in Parliament.
The total estimated expenditure for the 2026 budget is 7,057 billion rupees, while the government expects to generate 5,300 billion rupees in revenue during the year. Now, this results in a projected budget deficit of 1,757 billion rupees, which is proposed to be financed through 1,522 billion rupees in domestic borrowing and 235 billion rupees in foreign borrowing.
Newsfirst with the people.
Diyawadana was re-elected as the 19th Diyawadana Nilame of the Temple of the Sacred Tooth Relic in Camporee. The election was held this afternoon.
And will remain in effect until the selection meeting, presided over by the Commissioner General of Buddhist Affairs, was held at the Senkalagada Buddhist Centre in Kandy. 3 candidates were nominated for the post of Diyawadana Nilame: Pradeep Nilangadala, Basnayaka Nilame of the Kataragama Mahadevalaya and Paskama Srinatha Devalaya, Daminda Bantara Uduravana, and AWS Bantaranayaka, the Chief Custodian of the Srinatha Devalaya and the Ambake Sri Kataragama Devalaya in Kandy. Pradeep Nilangadala was re-elected as the Diyawadana Nilame, receiving 195 votes. He has been serving as the Diyawadana Nilame of the Temple of the Sacred Tooth Relic in Kandy continuously since 2005, and this marks his 3rd term in office.
මම හිතන්නේ ඉදිරි දසවසර තුළ දැවැන්ත වැඩපිළිවෙලක් ජාත්‍යන්තරයේ සම්බන්ධ කරගෙන ලෝක බෞද්ධ ජනතාවටම යම් සේවාවක් නිසකව ඉටු කරන්න ලැබෙයි කියලා මා හිතනවා.
Meanwhile, Supreme Court Justice S. Thurayaraja was sworn in as the acting Chief Justice today at the Presidential Secretariat in the presence of President Anurukumara Dissanayake.
This appointment will remain in effect until Chief Justice Preeti Padman Surasena returns to the country as he is currently abroad.
Former President Maithripala Sirisena appeared before the Commission to investigate allegations of bribery or corruption this morning. His appearance was in connection with the investigations into the renting of a building in Rajagiriya for the Ministry of Agriculture.
At the time, serious concerns were raised over the decision by then Minister of Agriculture Duminda Dissanayake to house the Ministry of Agriculture in a building owned by veteran actress Sabita Pereira. The controversy arose due to several factors, including the payment of a monthly rent of 24 million rupees for the premises.
මම මගේ ප්‍රකාශය දුන්නා. ඒ ඇරෙන්න මම විත්තිකාරයෙක්වත් පැමිණිලිකාරයෙක්වත් නෙවෙයි.
ඔබතුමා ජනාධිපති සමයේ දරපු අමාත්‍යාංශයක්ද?
ඔව් මම ජනාධිපති සමයේ දරපු අමාත්‍යාංශයක්.
ඔබතුමා නෙමෙයි ඇමතිවරේ දරපු.
නෑ මම ජනාධිපති කාලේ.
No, I wasn't the minister. This was during my presidency. I've been appearing before the CID and the Bribery Commission over the past few months, not over any allegation against me, but to clarify matters related to the incidents said to have taken place during my administration. It's part of the legal process and I respect that. Remember, it was during my tenure that criminals like Markandure Madhush were brought down to face justice. I'm the one who signed the death penalty for drug traffickers and underworld figures. I was the first Sri Lankan president to destroy narcotics publicly. I carried out clear, decisive actions and implemented major development projects, including the 240 billion Murugahakanda Kaluganga development project. I have never faced any accusation of fraud or corruption. Under my Pibidemu Polonnaruwa program worth 60 billion rupees, we transformed the district's development. I have no allegations of wrongdoing whatsoever.
A killer in a mass stabbing in Barhaven, Ottawa last year pleaded guilty to 4 counts of first-degree murder and 2 counts of second-degree murder in court. Sri Lankan Febrio de Zoysa also pleaded guilty to 1 count of attempted murder. He was sentenced to life in prison without any possibility of parole for 25 years.
A 20-year-old Sri Lankan national, Fabio de Zoysa, has pleaded guilty to 6 counts of murder and 1 count of attempted murder in connection with the mass stabbing that shocked the Canadian capital in March 2024. The victims included 4 children, their mother, a close family friend, all killed in their home in Barhaven, a suburb of Ottawa. De Zoysa, who was 19 at the time and living with the Vikramasinghe family as an international student, admitted to the killings during a hearing at the Ottawa Superior Court. Among the victims were the 3-year-old Ranaya, 4-year-old Ashwini and 7-year-old Inuka Vikramasinghe, along with the 40-year-old Gamini Amarakon, a family friend and tenant. De Zoysa pleaded guilty to first-degree murder in these cases, receiving an automatic life sentence with no parole eligibility for 25 years. He also pleaded guilty to second-degree murder in the deaths of the children's mother, 35-year-old Darshani Ekanaika, and her 2-month-old baby Kelly Vikramasinghe. The father of the family, Danushka Vikramasinghe, survived the attack and was seriously injured. De Zoysa pleaded guilty to attempted murder in his case. According to court testimony, De Zoysa had been struggling with mental health issues, academic failure and financial stress. He told investigators he feared deportation due to his failing grades and had planned the attack days in advance. He had purchased a hunting knife online, initially intending to take his own life. The Crown revealed that De Zoysa stopped attending classes and spent excessive amounts of money on food and video games. On the day of the attack, he lured one of the tenants into his basement and fatally stabbed him before moving upstairs to kill the rest of the family. Vikramasinghe returned home late that evening and was attacked, but managed to overpower De Zoysa and escape to a neighbor's house for help. Police arrived to find de Souza sitting calmly on the front steps where he confessed to the killings. During the sentencing, Justice Phillips condemned the brutality of the crimes, calling them monstrous and the stuff of nightmares. He acknowledged de Souza's mental health struggles, but emphasized that they did not excuse the calculated nature of the attack. He also said, quote, "You have caused so much loss and grief. If I could give you consecutive life sentences, I would," end quote. De Souza expressed remorse in court, stating, quote, "I will spend the rest of my life acknowledging the truth of what I did," end quote. His lawyer noted that de Souza's parents were unaware of his deteriorating condition and had sent him to Canada with hopes for a better future.
The 60th Colombo Camporee, held under the theme Move with Purpose, Heal with Heart, is taking place in Colombo from the 5th to the 10th of November 2025.
The official opening ceremony of the 60th Colombo Camporee took place in the presence of the Mayor of Colombo and Vice President of the Sri Lanka Scout Association Colombo District Branch Rai Kali Balthazar and Guest of Honour Janaprit Fernando, Chief Commissioner of the Sri Lanka Scout Association, along with other national and district scouting officials and dignitaries.
I know that you've been very supportive and a lot of you have been a part of the Clean Sri Lanka projects that our government has been initiating. So I firstly want to say thank you. As a government or as a Mayor of Colombo, I know for certain that we can't do this alone. We can't. There is nothing we can change in this city. We can't do this alone. We need help and we need support. And sometimes that support comes from officials, from policy making, from adults. But sometimes we need a bigger, stronger, more energetic force. And you are that force. You are filled with passion. You are filled with purpose. You are filled with integrity. And you are the folk, you are the group of people who will take our cities forward. Don't always assume that it's only adults who can give leadership. Don't assume that it's only adults who can show the way. You have the heart and the courage to show the way. What we want to do is make this city beautiful. And beautiful doesn't mean only keeping it clean. It also means making it a good place for people to live. And I know that you will help us.
This year's Camporee brings together over 9,000 scouts from across the Colombo district, marking 6 decades of scouting, tradition, leadership and community service.
And in news overseas, Typhoon Colombo, one of the year's deadliest storms, has headed west to Cambodia and Laos after barreling through central Vietnam on Thursday with winds of up to 149 kilometers per hour.
Earlier this week, the typhoon flooded entire towns in the Philippines, killing at least 114 people and leaving more than 120 missing. In Vietnam, at least one person died after a house collapsed in Doc Loc province, while another 2 died in GLI province, local media said. The government's disaster management site has not yet released any death tolls or estimated damages. This typhoon came even as central Vietnam struggled with the aftermath of record rainfall last week that killed nearly 50 people. Ahead of the typhoon, Vietnam's military deployed more than 260,000 soldiers and personnel for relief efforts, along with more than 6,700 vehicles and 6 aircraft. Some airports and expressways in the country were closed and hundreds of thousands were evacuated. Shortly after the typhoon made landfall in Vietnam at 7:29 p.m. local time, hundreds of residents in Doc Loc province called for help. Doc Loc province is approximately 350 kilometers northeast of Ho Chi Minh City. Many people said their homes had collapsed or been flooded, while strong winds and heavy rain continued to batter the area.
On today's edition of Beautiful Sri Lanka, we take you on a journey to explore the breathtaking Asupiniala, a stunning waterfall nestled in the heart of the K Golf district.
Asupiniyalla is a breathtaking creation of nature that enhances the beauty of the Aranayake area in the Kegol district. Cascading from a height of over 100 feet, this magnificent waterfall captivates all who witness its splendor. It is nourished by the Maoe River, which originates in the Dolosbagir region. However, visitors are advised to be cautious as the area surrounding the waterfall is known for its danger and is steeped in fascinating local folklore that adds to its mystique.
Beautiful Sri Lanka.
From that, we bring to a close this edition of Primetime News on TV1.
Thank you for joining us.
Good night.